hope you are well. Welcome back to another video. If you're new around here, I'm Bex. I'm mum to Finley, who's 15 months old, and I make all sorts of videos about mum life really. Home, interiors, baking, food. I was inspired by the lovely Mrs. Rachel Brady to do this video. She did a video on her favourite recipe books, which I really enjoyed watching. This is just a rundown of my favourite cookery books and the recipes that I either really want to try from them or that I have already tried. Just as a mum, I always try to look at other people's videos for food inspiration and for recommendations really. I have a massive collection of cookery books. So I'm already all about autumn and winter and coziness. We've had glorious weather in Britain at the moment, about 6 weeks of it, but I am just all summered out really, and I am just looking forward to getting my teeth into some autumn meals. So yeah, I'll just start going through them. These are in no particular order, they're just as I'm picking them up off the pile really. So the first one is Delia's winter collection. I have such fond memories of Delia. I would say it's Delia that really was one of the main influences in me falling in love with cooking really. Around sort of the later primary school years, my mum was doing night school, and so I would stay at my grandma and granddad's till maybe about 8 o'clock at night. They would always have the Victorian Kitchen Garden on, or a Delia Smith programme. So I have very fond memories of this Delia Smith series in particular. So one of my favourite recipes from this book is the roasted pumpkin soup with melting cheese. And come on, can we just talk about how cosy the book is for a start? But yeah, this is a really easy pumpkin soup. All you do is quarter the pumpkin, scoop off the seeds, bang it in the oven with some chilli, some nutmeg, some cinnamon and some olive oil, and roast the pumpkin in the oven. And then once it's nice and squishy and charred at the edges, you just slice it off the skin and put it in with some stock and some other sort of spices, bit of herb action, some sage would be nice in there as well. And then you just blitz it up in a blender, and it is just the velvetiest, coziest soup. Lovely swirled with a bit of creme fraiche, a bit of cracked black pepper and some hunks of crusty bread, and you're well away. And I also love the red onion tart tatin, which is basically like a savoury version of an apple tart tatin. So you chop the onions in half and then slowly caramelise them in the pan, all the lovely sort of dark caramelly juices. And what I quite like to do as well is where the spaces are, where the onions are in the pan, I like to just dot goat's cheese into those little spaces, and then you put pastry over the top, and then you bake it in the oven. It's lovely with a sharp sort of green salad and sort of a lemony dressing, but it makes just a lovely sort of bistro style lunch. And that's sort of another theme for all of these cookery books. All the food in it's cosy, all the sort of bistro style meals, because that's the sort of food I like. The other recipe in here that I think is a standout sort of recipe is the beef and designer beer. I am a vegetarian, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm not bringing Finley up to be a vegetarian. Now, I'm not suggesting he should be having beef and beer, but very early on in my life I made the decision that I would bring up my children to eat meat. I decided to learn how to sort of make meals with meat, and this was one of the first that I learned to do. And whenever I have made it for people, they have really enjoyed it. So it's braised steak cubed, browned off in a pan with some onions, and then you sort of toss the onions and the steak in flour to coat. Then you add just under a half a pint of beer of your choice, and some bay leaves, some garlic, some seasoning, and then you cook it low and slow in a casserole dish. And then when it's ready, it makes this lovely sort of cosy velvety gravy along with the steak. which is perfect for serving with mash or some crusty bread, and it's just a real low maintenance sort of meal, and I just think it's sort of nice, honest, homey food. So that was Delia's winter collection. If any of those recipes have inspired you to go and get the book, it's usually a staple in any of your local public libraries, so if you are thinking of getting it and you just want to have a look at it, then definitely recommend going to your library and looking for a copy. The next book on my list is Short and Sweet by Lepard, who's this amazing food writer. If you like Nigel Slater or Nigella, you'll love Lepard. This is like a serious sort of baking book. What I mean by that is it looks at the sort of technical side of baking, as well as just having the most amazing recipes in there. So it's divided into bread, cakes, small things, biscuits, cookies, donuts, batters and babas, sugar, desserts and suppers. What I bought this book for really was to be able to perfect things like bread and pastry. I'm a whiz with cakes, but bread and pastry I've had to work a little harder at perfecting. So some of the recipes that I love in here are the bread recipes really. So sour cream sandwich bread is the most amazing sort of springy, perfect sort of white loaf. I love a good sort of crusty loaf, but if you're looking for something that's more of a sandwich type loaf, then this is the loaf for you. And I love the idea of using sour cream in a loaf. It's the simplest bread recipe to make. Like I said, I'm not great at making bread, and I've really had to sort of work at it. And this was the first sort of loaf I've made where I felt super happy with the results. The other bread recipe in here that I really love is this frying pan naan. It makes the most amazing naan bread, and it's so simple to make. I tend to like making it as a coconut naan, but that's just me. It makes the most fluffy, chewy, it just makes restaurant style naan bread, but at home. I hate the sort of naan breads that you buy from supermarkets. They're just rock hard, they're never any good. If we're making curry at home, I always want some sort of naan bread to go with it really. This has meant that I can have curry at home and the perfect naan bread. It's also the only naan bread recipe we've ever been able to make decent naan bread with. And then sort of cake recipes. There's this cinnamon cake with blackberries that's just, to me that's automatic play. I usually try to get in quite early with bramble picking, just because I've found that the birds do like to try to get to the brambles quite quickly. So yeah, I can't wait to make this cake. It just looks divine. And what I also like about this book, as I was saying, is it goes into the technicalities behind each discipline of baking. And in this particular section on icing, it goes through 6 tips for the perfect cream cheese frosting, which I think is quite difficult to master. You want it to be thick and luscious, with a sour tang, and you don't want it to be runny at all. And I think it's quite difficult to beat the icing sugar into the cream cheese mixture without it going too runny or without it becoming too sweet. So one of Lepard's sort of handy hints is to make sure you go for the full fat cream cheese. So if you're on the lookout for a good all-round baking book that covers breads, pastries, cakes, frostings, then I would highly recommend this book. It's also just nice to start to snuggle up with and read a bit more about the technicalities behind baking as well if you're wanting to sort of perfect your techniques. Okay, I'm going to switch things up a little bit with a Jamie Oliver book. I do love Jamie Oliver books. I like his food, I like how sort of simple it is with the focus on the ingredients. I do have quite a few Jamie Oliver books, but this is my favourite one of them. And I think it's because it's, again, a focus on seasonality and growing food alongside cooking it. For those of you who watch my videos or follow me on Instagram, you will know that we've started trying to grow things. So I have raspberries, I started growing potatoes, and we've got 2 apple trees as well, and now a very random blackberry cane has popped up. So I do want to make the most of the things that we grow. This book is sort of structured into seasons, which is a theme you'll notice with a lot of the books I've chosen. I love cooking seasonally. I'm trying to make the most of ingredients at their best so that they just speak for themselves, really. I particularly like these eggy breakfast crumpets, which are sort of French toast versions of crumpets with a bit of a chilli hit. I think they're nice as part of sort of a lazy Sunday breakfast. I quite like the barbecue chapter in this book as well, just for interesting takes on barbecued veggies. So there's a barbecue steamed stuffed onion, which is like a red onion with cooked in butter and rosemary. You wrap it in tin foil and then pop it in the barbecue until it's really soft and caramelised and is great on top of a burger. And baked sweet potatoes with cumin, lime and chilli. Lovely too. I really like the lime with the sweet potato, it really works. There's a whole section on potatoes, which I like because we're growing potatoes at the moment. I like his tips for growing potatoes. It's here. It goes into soil planting, harvesting, storing and growing tips. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book. I like it for its sort of seasonal approach. I like the sort of melding of a gardening book and a recipe book. And I just don't think you can go wrong with Jamie Oliver's recipes. They are generally reliable and tend to work. Moving on a bit, I've got 2 Sophie Dahl books. Some people may think the idea of reading a recipe book from an ex-model is slightly on the suspicious side, but I am a fan of both of these books. I find the food to be very homey, bistro, cafe style sort of food. As I've said, that's what I like. Stuff like spelt French toast with smashed blackberries and blueberries, lemon lentil soup. I think what she does excel in is putting a twist on something that's fairly sort of standard or conventional. I think this recipe is worth buying the book for alone, to be honest, which is Earl Grey and lavender ice cream, which is just the most dreamy ice cream. I think it's so unusual. That's the second book, which is from season to season. The first book had like a little paper dust jacket that went across here, but Finley's already ripped that off. I like the autumn breakfast section, and in particular the poached eggs with portobello mushrooms and goat cheese. And what I find with a lot of these recipes in these books are they're not recipes as such to follow step by step, but more just meal ideas, which is what I like. Moving on to winter breakfast, these pear and ginger muffins are great, and again just look very Instagrammable, I think. And this chestnut and mushroom soup sounds cosy as well. So that's the Sophie Dahl cookbooks. This one is Miss Dahl's Voluptuous Delights. For me, a cookbook list couldn't be complete without a bit of Nigella and a bit of Nigel Slater. I have all of Nigella's cookery books, but I suppose if I had to recommend just one Nigella book to you, it would be this one. Mainly because you know I am a Christmas obsessive, and I think it's good because it's an amazing all-rounder from drinks to food to snacks to desserts. It's just got everything in here, I think. The way I do my roast potatoes comes from Nigella with her sort of perfect roast potatoes. Even the way she sort of cuts them to get the maximum amount of cut sides, which means the maximum amount of crunch. Same with her maple roast parsnips. Pumpkin pancakes with sticky maple pecans, anyone? It's tempting me. Cocktails, espresso martini, I can vouch for that being a great recipe. Triple cheese and onion strata, which is a very sort of carbolicious baguette 3 style cheese laden meal, which you put together the day before and then whack in the oven the day you want to eat it. I haven't made this, but I'm dying to, and it's going to be my sort of autumn winter treat I think for this year, and that's pumpkin and goat's cheese lasagna. Two of my most favourite things are pumpkin and goat's cheese. Dan hates goat's cheese, so it's just gonna I'll have to scale the recipe back because it's like a monster tray of lasagna. It feeds 12 to 15 people, so there's no way I can make something that size, and that's sort of the reason why I haven't made it myself yet. But I'm far too tempted to just not make it this year. The girdle buster pie. I made this one year for Christmas Day dessert, and it is just dream dessert territory really. It's coffee ice cream, butterscotch sauce poured over the top, and sort of cheesecakey cookie sort of crumb that goes up to make a crust. It's a winner. You can make it in advance. Good dinner party sort of food. And the macaroni cheese deluxe. Nigella adds evaporated milk to her sort of macaroni cheese sauce, and it gives it something that you just can't quite put your finger on why it works, but it does. And to be honest, I could go on and on and on with that book, but it's got to be one of my most favourite books ever in general, and I would say it's within my top 3 cookery books. Okay, time for a bit of Nigel Slater. This is the Kitchen Diaries, which is the first one. I've got the Kitchen Diaries 2, the Kitchen Diaries 3. I basically have most of Nigel Slater's books. I thought we'd talk about all 3 of these at once really, just because they're all part of the same series. I noticed this hardback version in a charity shop yesterday. Couldn't resist it, so I basically donated my paperback version and got the hardback one. It's of no surprise, but all 3 of these books are seasonal in structure, and the twist with these ones are they are almost daily diaries of recipes of what Nigel Slater ate that year. And it's sort of divided into months, so January through to December, and then each sort of section lists what the recipes are for that particular month. So it is great if you are bored and you're looking for a meal. All you have to do really is turn to that day's date and see if something floats your boat. It will definitely be in season. The double ginger cake in this is like the ginger cake of dreams. It's very sticky but very light. I like this cheesy pie, which is Stilton onion and potato pie. It's like a cheesy, oniony sort of version of a shepherd's pie. If you can imagine sort of cheese and onion pie filling, but with like a mashed potato top. It's just light and dreamy and perfect comfort food. And I love this summer pudding, which is a peach and blueberry sour cream cobbler, and it's like a summer version of a crumble, which is just one of my ultimate sort of death row dishes really. So that's the first one, and I would highly recommend that if you're looking for recipe inspiration that's seasonal, and just you can flick to that day, see if that sort of inspires you. The second and third volumes are basically the same sort of premise but different sort of recipes. So these are just a few of the recipe books that I really love. I hope you've enjoyed my sort of cozy chat about the recipe books, and if this is the sort of video that you like watching, then please don't forget to hit subscribe just below and the bell so you know when my videos go up, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye!